Okay, so we've done quite a bit with Earth's history, and we did especially in the earlier part of the year, and we studied the different eons, the Archean and the kind of Precambrian eons that made up Earth's history up until the Cambrian explosion. Uh, Occurring 541 million years ago. And we went into the Paleozoic and the Mesozoic. The Mesozoic was kind of neat because that was the age of the dinosaurs. Here's the Mesozoic right here, and that was broken down into Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous periods. We never talked really about the Cenozoic, which is we're living in the Cenozoic presently. There was 7 epochs during the Cenozoic, and you notice there aren't really, there were periods, and then really epochs are kind of the reason why the fossil record becomes a lot more detailed, and we have a lot more of an idea of what kind of animals lived during these different epochs. There's some neat kind of very well preserved fossils from a lot of these different epochs. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about kind of what Earth was like during this time. And you can see here, this is the KT boundary 65 million years ago, and this is what separated the Cretaceous from the Cenozoic. Cretaceous was the last of during the Mesozoic was the last of the periods of the Mesozoic, and this is when the dinosaurs were killed by the debris in the Earth. Kind of had this huge cloud that kind of formed over it, and the larger non-avian dinosaurs died off. The T-Rexes and the sauropods disappeared at 65 million years ago. And this slide here kind of shows you kind of the temperature. This is the Cenozoic here, and temperatures were pretty warmer you have this line going down the center, you have this squiggly line going up, and anything on the right side of the line going up and down here, the Earth was warmer. So during the Cenozoic here, the Earth was mostly warmer up until just the last 2 million years. We kind of went into a series of ice, and we're still on the colder side of Earth's history, geological history. At some point we had talked about snowball Earth. That was Precambrian. The Earth was just a large glacier during this period, and that was a long 400 million years. Earth was just like a really large kind of ice ball, so to speak, and went through during the Paleozoic, went through kind of a warming period back and forth a little bit, and then again at the end of the Paleozoic, kind of got cold, went through an ice age, and then during the age of dinosaurs, it got very warm during the Mesozoic, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, again very warm during that period, and stayed that way into the Cenozoic. And even me, I'd always been assumed that the beginning of the Cenozoic, it was a very cold period, and it might have been for a while, but global temperature on average, though, was much warmer during that until later on, as you got into the later points of the Cenozoic in the last 2 million years, we kind of slipped back into another series of ice ages. So during the Paleocene, these first 2 epochs, the Eocene average temperature is 13 degrees warmer than today. The poles had jungles, the equators had deserts. During the late Eocene, Oligocene, Earth began to cool. That was about 35 million years ago when the Earth began this process of cooling. You had during the Eocene, you had larger reptiles were kind of able to evolve. There were actually some large mammals that were able to evolve also. They were predatorial. This turtle was predatorial, and it was able to kind of dine on lizards. This picture kind of misrepresents it a little bit. I don't think it was actually this large, but was more like about 9 feet long. Also, there were large snakes. Titanoboa here was 42 feet long, which is much longer than the boa constrictors that exist today. Larger snakes today are around 13 feet, but this one was up more than twice as long. Was able to eat alligators and crocodiles. During the Oligocene, which was the next epoch, okay, 33 to 23 million years ago, the modern mammals began to appear. Monkeys began to appear during this period. And again, they didn't look quite like the ones that we have today, but they were evolving. They were slowly evolving to like adapt to the changing climate of the Oligocene. Things were starting to cool down. Earth was becoming cooler. The Miocene, 23 million to 5 million years ago, okay, the grasslands began to develop. The grasses began to evolve, and they were much tougher and harder to digest. And animals like this gazelle here, they evolved a rumen, which is a part of their stomach, which is able to store grasses and can kind of, what they do is they'll eat, and they'll store grasses in that rumen. The rumen will kind of pre-digest these grasses, and then they'll kind of regurgitate, kind of throw up the grasses. And the gazelles, they'll see animals like gazelles and horses and sheep and goats, deer will re-chew the food that was in this rumen, and then they'll swallow it again, but it kind of breaks it down. So the other parts of their stomach can kind of take advantage of all the energy that's in the cellulose of the grasses. Remember that cellulose is made up of sugars, and the bacteria that exists in their stomach is what kind of takes that cellulose and breaks it down into the digestible sugars that has a lot of energy. And that's why these different goats and gazelles and animals that have this adaptation have been so successful in the last 20 million years, is they have this really kind of stomach that is able to take advantage of all the energy that's available in the grasses. The Paleocene was 5.3 to 1.8 million years, and that kind of takes us up to the Quaternary, which is the last 1.8 million to the present. But this period, again, these mammals here have all gone extinct, but you can definitely recognize the kind of the woolly mammoth. They were all relatives of the modern. Here you have a horse-looking creature, some type of creatures related to cats that have gone extinct. This is like a walrus kind of looking, whale-looking creature that I'm not sure their names of, but they have gone extinct in the last 1.8 million years. But they're recognizable. Earth is becoming Earth that we know. Our human ancestor Australopithecus evolved during this time, and Australopithecus walked upright, may have had kind of this ability to digest grasses that I'm not sure if they're really certain on that, but have this evolution has occurred, that kind of becomes the modern humans, what we recognize as the modern animals of the world today. And it having to deal with the much colder temperatures of the last 2 million years, animals have had to been able to survive on foods like grasses, and been able to hibernate like bears do in order to survive the much colder temperatures of the last 2 million years. So that's the Cenozoic era. Okay, it's the last of the eras that we're going to be looking at in Earth's history, and that gives you a little snapshot of kind of the time period, and kind of what happened during that period. So hopefully you got something from that, and we'll move on to something else after this.